Let's get on the record. This is docket 9300 GI 106, the investigation into Holiday Acres Properties Incorporated, doing business as Holiday Acres Resort as a pipeline operator for non-compliance with pipeline safety regulations. My name is Michael Newmark, the administrative law judge for the PSC, and we're on Zoom we have Holiday Acres and Wisconsin Public Service Corporation, parties in the case, as well as commission staff. We've also noticed this hearing as a public hearing session, so we can take comments from the public. And we're going to start out with doing the public comments in case there are members of the public in attendance. I see none in attendance at this time, so we have no public comments to receive. And I believe there are no public comments on file with the commission. We will accept written comments, however, up until Friday, July 21st, through the commission's website or by US mail, in case someone's watching the live stream or will watch the recording on YouTube and will be notified in that way about filing public comments. Otherwise, the public comment instructions were provided in the notice of hearing, which is on the commission's website. So at this point, we can start our party session, and I do have the service list I can display on the screen. So we'll take appearances on the record, just go down the list here. So who do we have for appearing today for Holiday Acres?
Kim Zambon.
Okay. And how about Public Service Commission?
Good morning, Judge Newmark. We have Kate Phillips here for Wisconsin Public Service Corporation, and then we also have our witness. As you noticed, we filed some testimony yesterday afternoon.
Not ready for that yet, sorry.
Okay, sorry about that.
So Public Service Commission of Wisconsin, who is appearing for the Public Service Commission?
Sophia Rogers for the Public Service Commission.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, so that's fine. So now I did want to discuss, but we don't really need to notice these things on the screen at this point, except I did want to review. I did get a notice of appearance filed. I want to show that to you. So there's a notice of appearance on behalf of Holiday Acres from Richard Heineman, Boardman and Clark. So I just wanted to confirm with you, Kim, is it Zambon? I'm having trouble reading this. Zambon, okay, sorry. So I just wanted to confirm with you in terms of the nature of the representation that Attorney Heineman is providing to you. Is that limited in any way, or is that full representation of you as a client, or of Holiday Acres as a client?
I believe it's full representation. I'm not really clear on what the technical differences might be in that classification.
Okay, but the attorney didn't communicate that he'll be representing you in a limited capacity.
No.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to be clear in terms of proceeding today that although Holiday Acres is represented by counsel, counsel is not appearing today. And I did get an email from Attorney Heineman. I can probably bring that up for everyone here. Okay, yeah, so I did have an email from Attorney Heineman regarding the process here today. He indicated that, and this email went to the parties as well and commission staff. He indicated that He filed a notice of appearance, but would not be able to participate today at the hearing due to a prior commitment. He indicated that Mr. Zambon would be attending as scheduled and prepare to take questions. Then he mentioned an informal notice that he would like an opportunity to file written testimony. And then answering some of the questions we require for pre-hearing preparation about witnesses and arranging questions. So I just wanted to make sure that we understand that. I think at this point, I think the Holiday Acres has secured an attorney in this case. But I believe at this point, at this hearing, the Holiday Acres is effectively participating without counsel. Looks like by choice of the attorney. And so we are going to operate today. We will commence the hearing and proceed as scheduled, with the understanding that the Holiday Acres has an attorney, but that attorney is choosing not to come today. I find this to be highly unusual. I find this to be disturbing, to be honest. I think if an attorney is going to agree to represent a client, that they need to make their appearance at any commission hearing. As far as I read the facilitating matters orders, attorneys are required to be present at a hearing, but so be it. I think what I'm basically saying is that we're operating with the understanding that due to the actions of Attorney Heineman, the client is not was not afforded counsel today, and to the extent that may implicate due diligence standards that are attached to attorney practice, I'll let that be determined by others, but just wanted to make that noted for the record. So we can move on from there. Okay, and at this point, I think I just have one more document to bring up.
Judge, if I may, do you plan to add Attorney Heineman to the service list?
I'll do that after the hearing. Yeah, thanks for letting me for acknowledging that. We did have one other person join us. It's Alex McDermott, and I'm not sure I recognize that name. So if you could just let me know your affiliation with the parties or commission staff.
Hi, my name is Alex McDermott. I'm affiliated with Holiday Acres.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so did want to bring up one more document here. So we do the preliminary matters. Okay, so yeah, we do have a number of filings here, and first of all, wanted to set us up with the scheduling order. So we did have a scheduling order in this case. My understanding was that it was stipulated by parties and commission staff. So we did not have a pre-hearing conference. In regards to the process, maybe we should have, but we had a schedule that parties and staff agreed to. The schedule included that on June 16th of this year, commission staff would issue its direct testimony, direct evidence on July 7th. The parties which would be Holiday Acres and Pub Service, would file its testimony direct and responding to commission staff. And then the rest of the schedule is there. And I guess what we have now is a filing and a motion from Wisconsin Public Service to accept late file direct. That was filed, I believe it was yesterday, the testimony of witness Bosi, B-O-S-I, and a direct and one exhibit. So with that motion pending, we'll need to deal with that as a preliminary matter. So I did review the motion. I guess I'm just not clear exactly as to, and let me say, Wisconsin Public Service is a party in this case. I think we had commission staff had requested and invited Wisconsin Public Service to become a party because of its involvement in this matter, and under the impression that it may have unique and specific information to provide firsthand knowledge of the situation, which is definitely a boon to the record. We wanted to flesh out all the facts and to provide a complete record. I'm just curious as to the reason for the delay in the filing, because we did set up a schedule and a process here, and the process is it's set up for a reason, and it is meant to provide due process and also a rational and efficient way of presenting evidence and making sure that we have chance to review and react and respond to statements of the parties, commission staff. That's our normal practice. There's nothing new here or surprising in this. So I want to make sure we're on the same page in terms of what's expected and required when we're dealing with commission practice. And so I just wanted to have Pub Service explain exactly what the reason for the delay was, and perhaps we can clarify what the requirements and expectations are. So do you have a comment to that effect, Attorney Phillips?
Yeah, sure, Your Honor. I guess, we mentioned this in the motion. I think our expectation was that Holiday Acres would respond to the testimony of commission staff. This is a little bit unusual for us, and as you mentioned, we were asked by the commission staff to participate in this hearing. We're certainly willing to help develop the record in whatever way that we can. So I think we were coming at it from a little bit of that perspective as well. Certainly we're willing to participate, and we filed a late testimony yesterday afternoon. We just wanted to assist in creating a full record. So I think when Attorney Rogers reached out to me on Friday, it was as a result of not getting a responsive testimony from Holiday Acres that sort of triggered the need for us to step in and provide the WPS testimony, which hopefully we have. And it really is just to create a more full record for the commission. I think as indicated in the testimony, at least as of sort of the March timeframe, I understand that we have met with Holiday Acres. So I think, and Mr. Bosi can testify to this, but at least as of March, WPS felt like things were moving forward.
Well, we don't, and that's fine. I guess I don't really need you to testify for us at this point, but I just wanted to be clear that if there is confusion as to when a party should be filing testimony in terms of timing and the nature of it, and when I say you, I mean Pub Service and Webco and WEC and Wisconsin Gas can seek some clarification from staff on that. I appreciate Pub Service's participation here, but I do think it's important, and you know, if and it's voluntary, but it needn't have been voluntary. And I think we did want to hear from Pub Service in indirect testimony. Maybe that was not communicated clearly enough, but my expectation was that parties were agreeing to file direct, and that it's helpful to the record to get that direct from Pub Service, but it would have been conducive for the process to have that filed on time, so we could have reviewed it and been able to incorporate it into our understanding sooner. But I do appreciate Pub Service's participation here. So I don't think we were looking for Pub Service to respond to Holiday Acres or respond to staff. We're looking for direct from Pub Service as to what it knew about the situation in order to complete the record. So I just want to be clear that, and I think hopefully we've crossed that bridge and we can move on. But so let me just ask, since this is a pending motion to file to accept this testimony, are there any objections to accepting the late testimony? Okay, not hearing any, so we'll have the late direct and exhibit accepted for the record pending verification. We also have the commission staff testimony, the Rodriguez testimony, and let's see, there's the exhibit list here. Yeah, 2 exhibits. Is there any objection to receiving that testimony? Okay, so that'll be in pending verification. And we do have the errata as well for Rodriguez, and then the supplemental direct. Any objections to those filings? Okay, those are in pending verification. So I think probably the best way to process this at this point is to have the witnesses with written testimony appear and verify their testimony, provide any other comments, and they'll be subject to cross-examination. And then we could take Holiday Acres, who has failed completely to file any direct. I can provide an opportunity for a brief statement from Holiday Acres, just so we get their side. And then that witness will also be subject to cross-examination. So let's begin with the commission staff. And we'll have witness Rodriguez take the stand here. And oh, there you are. So let me swear you in. I'm gonna unmute your phone, your microphone. There you go. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? No, having trouble hearing you. I don't know if that's me or you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, that's better.
I do.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so go ahead, Attorney Rogers.
And Mr. Rodriguez, I think it's still a little quiet. If you can get it right up to your, there you go. Mr. Rodriguez, please state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Alex Rodriguez, ALEXRODRIGUEZ.
What is your position in the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin?
I'm a pipeline safety engineer.
How were you involved in this docket?
I'm the case coordinator.
And because Mr. Zambon is here without an attorney to explain what case coordinator means, do you mind explaining what that term means at the Public Service Commission?
Sure. I guess I put together main documents, I guess, summarizing the case and whatnot, and more or less organizing the commission's side of the narrative, if that's accurate.
Okay, and are you also the inspector on the case, and the point of contact for Mr. Zambon.
That is correct. I have been the main point of contact from the Public Service Commission involved throughout the details, I guess, that have been involved with this docket. So,
Did you file or cause to be filed the direct errata and supplemental testimony in this docket, as well as the 2 exhibits that the judge showed on the screen a moment ago?
I did.
And are the statements and representations in the testimony and exhibits that you filed in this case true and correct?
They are.
Do you have any additions or modifications to your testimony or exhibits at this time?
I do not.
Your Honor, the witness is available for cross.
Okay. So let's start with Wisconsin Public Service. Any questions for witness Rodriguez?
None from WPS. Thank you.
Okay. How about Holiday Acres? Any questions?
I have no questions.
No questions. All right. Okay, that's it then. Thanks. You're excused.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take Pub Services witness. Okay, so you're using Attorney Phillips's microphone, is there?
Oh, yeah, right. We're sharing a microphone. Here.
Okay. So let me swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Mike, can you please state your name for the record?
Michael Allen Bosey.
And for purposes of this proceeding, did you prepare or cause to be prepared direct testimony?
I did.
Did you also prepare or cause to be prepared 1 exhibit?
I did.
And is that exhibit true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
And as far as the testimony is concerned, if I asked you the questions contained within that testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Bosey is available for cross-examination.
Okay, any questions from commission staff? Commission staff, any questions?
I don't believe so. I'm just consulting. No, we don't have any questions. Thanks.
And from Holiday Acres?
I have no questions for Mr. Bosey.
Okay. All right, that's fine. So you're excused. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will provide an opportunity for Holiday Acres to make a statement if you wish to do so.
I do.
Okay, all right. So I'll swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, state your name for the record.
Kim Zambon.
And what's your, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, KIMZAMBON.
What's your position at Holiday Acres?
I'm the owner of the business.
Okay, so would you like to comment about this case?
I don't have a lot of comments other than I feel that the situation is, to a large degree, has been that I have not had a clear understanding of how the whole thing moves forward. I felt that we have been working in good faith, although it's taken us years to move this project forward. We have cooperated in all aspects. I've been in communication with Mr. Rodriguez over the years. It was always agreeable, and we had always, from the beginning of the process, we had indicated that we wanted to discontinue being a master gas distributor. I'm a resort operator, certainly not capable of doing what's required to be a master gas distributor. Our system was installed in, I believe, 1993 in compliance with regulations. It has not been altered in 30 years. And So we've been proceeding under the impression that everything we were doing was in proper compliance. Mr. Rodriguez did, educate us that we had to make changes. And after that point, although it's been a slow process, we have been moving forward. There have been various reasons. I think that it's taken us time to move forward. I did not submit testimony. I thought I didn't even get representation until a few days ago, which is why Mr. Heineman did not have time to alter his schedule to appear. That's mostly on ignorance on our side of understanding the process and the gravitas of the situation. I feel we've been moving forward in good faith, and we have work scheduled for the end of October to discontinue being a master gas distributor. So it's our feeling that we've been doing the best we can to come into compliance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we'll open up your testimony to cross-examination. Any questions? We'll start with pub service.
None from pub service.
And commission staff.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Zambon, you said that work was scheduled for October. It was my understanding that the work was not yet scheduled, but only planned and discussed. Do you have a date set?
I guess that was misuse of the word scheduled. It has been discussed and planned. I don't have a hard date. You are correct.
And do you know what steps come between where you are now and scheduling that work to be done?
My public service has been on site multiple times, 3 that I have been a party to, and possibly more often that I'm unaware of. They've been doing survey work and doing mapping and planning out the changes. And they've been consulting with me about when would be in a time that would work the best for our business. We're a seasonal business, and so to avoid disruption to our business, they said they would commence work in October. They have not provided me with a hard date. I do not know why or why not. No particular reason as far as I know, other than fitting it into their work schedules.
I'm seeing both in your data request response and in Mr. Bosey's testimony that WPSC was on site on March 7th, 2023. But you said that they'd been out 3 times. Can you provide?
Okay, they were here. That was one time I was aware of, and there were 2 other occasions where I think it's a Mr. Carlson from their staff and another fellow were here making drawings and gathering data as far as producing a plan of action. The dates they were just here with their trucks on the resort. I don't know exactly what dates that would have been.
But that was following the March 7th visit? Correct. Did I hear you correctly? There were 2 visits following March 7th?
That I'm aware of. They may have been on the property other times. I don't know.
Okay, so I'm just to be clear, they've come out 3 times this spring.
Correct.
Okay, and in Mr. Bosey's testimony, he writes that the next step, so what's standing in between getting this scheduled, is for Mr. Zambon to set up the accounts for each of the new cabins which we have made Mr. Zambon aware of, but has not yet been completed. Have you been aware of this requirement to set up accounts?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean by accounts. I did get, trying to remember his name, a fellow from public service reached out to me to help him get addresses for each building. And I recommended that he go to the Oneida County GIS mapping service, which indicates each building with a separate street address. And he said that was helpful so that he could, complete the maps and so forth. That's the only contact I've had from them as far as needing any information from me or any assistance from me with the work.
So to be clear, you're not aware of anything that you need to do at this point to make this happen, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the Public Service Commission obviously is not a mediator between the two parties here, but
Sure.
Now that you have representation, I trust that Mr. Heineman will get whatever outstanding information that Mr. Bosey describes in testimony settled in time for that October date. And Mr. Zambon, is that your expectation as well?
I fully expect them to commence work in October to make the necessary changes, yes.
Okay. I will leave remaining questions about getting the work done to Ms. Phillips, Attorney Phillips, and to your attorney outside of the hearing, understanding that your intention is to cooperate with the work being completed in October. But I'd also like to hear from you why not complete the work tomorrow. Can you explain your business concern and why this is tentatively planned for October?
Well, the nature of our business is that there's probably 150 people on the property at this time, children, lots of activities coming and going. It'd be very disruptive, if not dangerous, to have this work done, in my opinion, while there's a lot of people here. And that's why I requested that we delay work to either, initially we looked at trying to do it in the preseason, but felt that we couldn't get it, planned and organized that quickly. So it was delayed till the fall. With the window for doing the work is somewhat limited by the fact that during the winter, of course, the ground is frozen. That leaves the spring and the fall as really our only opportunities for doing the work safely, in my opinion. And so that's why we scheduled it for the fall, or planned it for the fall. I shouldn't use the word scheduled, but planned it for the fall.
Okay, and I'll leave it to the commission to weigh the danger of completing the work against having the work not complete and still having those 150 people, including children, on site with a system out of compliance. But from your perspective, when you say the work would be dangerous, you mean if you had people on site while the work was completed, there would be risk of exposure?
I wasn't thinking about exposure to any kind of like gas or anything. I was thinking more about trucks coming and going, trenching operations going on, things of that nature, equipment on site.
And would you be able to operate the resort if the work were to go on starting tomorrow?
It would be very disruptive. I'm not an installer, and I really don't have a complete understanding of the work. But yeah, it seems to me that it would be somewhat risky to have this stuff going on. There's a lot of kids. It's not that big a space, and a lot of coming and going and so forth.
I guess what I'm getting at is this a safety concern, or is it a concern about the economics of having the work done during the season?
I don't think there's any economic impact as far as that's concerned. I would not expect that my customers would leave or discontinue their vacations if the work was going on. I do think it is a safety concern. Yeah.
Can you be more specific? What safety concerns do you have besides disruption of having trucks and equipment on site? What might happen if the work were to occur during the summer season?
Well, I guess in many ways it would be similar to doing that kind of work in the middle of a playground. I mean, there's a lot of kids, a lot of people, a lot of coming and going. And I expect it would be a substantial amount of work on public services part to make these modifications to the line, to the installation.
Am I hearing correctly that the concern is an overlap in space? If you have people working over here, you can't also have children running around.
It would be in and amongst all the people. Yeah.
And so, and wouldn't the logical response be to pause reservations and rentals for that period of work?
Well, I guess if I felt that there was a dangerous situation, certainly you would do that. This installation has been in place for 30 years. And I guess I certainly didn't feel that there was any immediate risk or danger to continuing for a limited amount of time in the same manner that we've had things going for 30 years. I believe it was 93 when the installation was made, and the installation was at the time in compliance with all safety rules. And I feel that the system that we have is safe. I mean, I don't perceive it as a risky situation, that's for sure. If I did feel that there was some danger or some risk, we would absolutely, we'd have to cease operations and take immediate action.
What is your understanding of the purpose of this effort by staff over the years to get the system into compliance that's escalated into this hearing and the proceeding? If not safety, what is your understanding of this effort by commission staff?
I guess I would have to say my impression is that it's their role and their responsibility to bring things into compliance with regulations. We don't have the means or the ability to be a master gas distributor, which, in all honesty, I didn't even understand the definition of until this whole thing started. We certainly never thought we were operating in any sort of a risky fashion, and I guess I don't perceive that to be the situation now. I do understand that we need to come into compliance, and we've never resisted or in any way denied that we shouldn't be a master gas distributor. I don't want to be that person. I'm not capable of it. We're a resort business. We fell into that classification simply by the nature of the installation that was done here, created our position as a master gas distributor, actually unbeknownst to us. But
So in your mind, are you responsible for the system, or does that fall to someone else?
in my mind, I'm responsible for everything on my property, certainly. Yeah.
Okay, that's
And
great.
I don't deny that we need to make these changes.
Very good. Has the resort performed any maintenance, such as leak surveys, in the time that's transpired between the notices from commission staff and now?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't. We have not. I'm not even sure. We don't have the equipment, or I'm not even sure how we would do that. I understand I've seen equipment operating that has like sniffers or some sort of equipment for that. Of course, we don't have that.
Okay, and so we talked a bit about scheduling and why the work in your position needs to be done after the summer season is over. Can you offer some insight as to why this wasn't done in the preseason or in a previous year, maybe last fall? You mentioned, let's start with the preseason. You said that you were thinking about doing the work in the spring, and it didn't happen. Can you tell me about that?
Well, the timeline, I believe, between public service being able to get their survey work done, I have no idea what their requirements, what it would take on their end, engineering wise, and how much time it would take to plan and design the modifications to the existing system. But we felt in discussions on site with Mr. Bosey and so forth that, yeah, it would be very, very difficult to get this done in the preseason. The frost isn't out of the ground actually here oftentimes until May. And in fact, this year when they were out here trying to do some of their initial survey work, they were unable to even get around through the snow and so forth to get this done. As far as previous, going back to a year ago, we initiated discussions with, and I think it's in Mr. Rodriguez's testimony, that we had been doing various planning. I had sent emails to him that I had tried to get in touch with Mr. Claude Williams from Public Service to do planning and so forth. The last correspondence I had was, I believe, in November 18th. Mr. Rodriguez indicated that he had spoken with Mr. Williams from Wisconsin Public Service, and that Mr. Williams had told him that he would come out and do some, look at the site and make some determinations. In fact, Mr. Rodriguez asked me where should he tell Mr. Williams to meet me, and I said, just come to the front desk or the office and they'll find me. I'm on site. And Mr. Williams never came out. He indicated that he apparently tried to contact me and wasn't able to reach me. And that would have been after the middle of November. I'm not sure exactly when he said he tried to reach me. Next thing was after towards the 1st of March, I got a notification that a docket had been opened. I have to confess, I didn't even know what a docket is. I didn't understand it as a legal proceeding where we would be involved the way things have come to today. I did not retain legal advice until, in all honesty, a few days ago, at the advice of a friend. He said, in fact, I believe I may have asked you in one of our conversations. I think I said that this sounds pretty daunting and intimidating. I think I used the word. And I asked you should I have legal representation? Is this that kind of a situation? And I believe your response was that you could not advise me whether I should or should not. Anyway, at the last minute, I retained Mr. Heineman from Boardman and Clark, and he's been very helpful. And he's unfortunately unable to participate today, but he's helping me through the process now. I guess I see this as there's more or less two things going on here. One is the process of this hearing, and the other is the process of the work. The work is scheduled, or forgive me, not scheduled, but planned. And the other aspect is, of course, my representation or the legal circumstances of this docket. So,
Judge, it's not my role to give testimony, but I'll offer for what it's worth that I did not advise Mr. Zambon that he didn't need to get an attorney.
no, I didn't mean to imply that. You just told me that basically you cannot advise me one way or another. Certainly you didn't tell me that I didn't need one, or that I did. It was just not your role. I understand, and I understand that.
Okay.
The record's clear on that, but thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Zambon, can we go back a bit further? And I think the judge is giving us some leeway in our style of testimony here, or cross-examination. But can we go back in time before Mr. Rodriguez started his work on the case? There is an email from you, and maybe the judge can pull it up for us to see together. I would just like to understand when you came to understand the severity of this. There was a time that and it's in Exhibit 1, not Exhibit 2, but Exhibit 1, Judge.
Okay, let's go off the record for a second, and I'm gonna add the screen share back.
Thank you. So let's get on the record. So I have on the screen Exhibit PSC Rodriguez 1. And is there a page that I should be directed to? Yes, I'm looking for an email. I'm from Wisconsin Public Service, I believe. I'm sorry, bear with me. There's a specific email I have to.
Okay, let's go off the record.
Thank you. Okay, Schedule 15, which is in the PDF. It's 67 of 68.
Okay. So on the screen I have Schedule 15, and then the first email from Dagmar Vanek is June 28th, 2012. Is that the right place?
That's correct.
Oh, so let's get on the record.
Mr. Zambon, this is the oldest record, I believe, that we relied on in Mr. Rodriguez's testimony, and he introduced it there. This is an email from Dagmar Vanek, who is another inspector at the PSC. She's still working here, although she's not appearing today. The record speaks for itself. And her email summarizes the status of multiple master meter operators that the commission she was working with at the time with Wisconsin Public Service. And you can see that your name is there in a bullet under number 2.
I do see that.
Okay, and maybe the judge can highlight that so that we can all, I guess you don't need to highlight it. It's clear enough. So it says, Kim Zambon from Holiday Acres Resort agrees with the conversation and is going to do it this fall. He is waiting on your estimate yet. Did I read that correctly?
You did read what is there, yes.
Okay. And at the top of her email, she says, I have a summary of our attempt to resolve MMSO situation. Did I read that correctly?
Conversation, not certainly with me, is referring to a conversation with someone named Joe.
That's what I'm saying too. Yep. But just for the context of the email, and perhaps we can scroll down and look at the email below from this person, Joe. He's saying he's attaching a complete MMSO list with the latest updates. Do you see that?
I see a document from Dagmar to Joe. I don't know what it's about.
So backing up a bit to this Tuesday, June 26th email that's now on the screen, we see the original email from Joseph Bowles, to provide a little context to Dagmar's email. You see the
So Attorney Rogers, do you have a question for the witness?
I wanted to confirm that I was reading this correctly, but I'm not sure that we're looking at the same thing.
Well, I mean, we've accepted the document as an exhibit, so there was no objections. So I think we're relying on the verification from a witness, Rodriguez, that he had that it's correct. He understood at least the chain of custody of that document, and no one's objected that it's tampered or unverifiable, that it requires any additional foundation. So yeah.
My line of questioning, I'm attempting to find out what was in Mr. Zambon's mind at the time, if we can jog his memory as to this conversation.
Yeah. Okay. So if you just have him review those documents, and then you can ask him the questions.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
So Mr. Zambon, I'll ask you to review the email on the screen. And again, I'm just trying to jog your memory and get a little bit more insight from you as to what you were thinking at the time. If you can read this email first and let us know when you're ready to review Dagmar's email again, that would be helpful.
It says, hello, Dagmar, I've attached the complete.
Off the record. You don't need to read it to us, but just read it to yourself and let us know when you're done.
Okay, I guess what I was, Your Honor, was
go ahead.
trying to say is, it looks, I don't see in the part that's on my screen now, I don't see Holiday Acres mentioned. I contacted someone in Eagle River. I don't know what you're asking me. I guess I don't understand.
Well,
The-
I think at this point, just read the emails, and then when the attorney asks you a question, you can respond in any way you wish, whether it's saying, well, didn't apply to me, I don't remember, or the answer that you do know. Those are the answers, that's kind of what we're expecting. So just let us know when you're done reading, and then we'll,
Can I scroll?
yeah.
There was some more to this, an upper part.
Are you done with this area here?
Yeah, this, I guess I don't understand. I don't recall this, number one.
Okay, well, let's not have you answer that yet. Did you read it? That's all I need to know. You
Yes.
read that? Okay, so let's have you read the prior or this, I guess, subsequent email, and just let me know when you finish.
Okay, and I see that refers to a conversation that he had with me. I don't recall this conversation. This would have been 11 years ago. I'm not denying or confirming that the conversation took place. I would certainly think there would have been substantial follow-up to the conversation if indeed there was a need for it.
Okay, so you've read it completely.
Yes.
Right now. Okay, so let's get on the record, and we can have the attorney ask your questions, and you can provide your answer and any additional context you'd want to add. So go ahead, Attorney Rogers.
Thank you, Judge. So Mr. Zambon, you have had opportunity to review, and you read these two emails, one from Joseph Bowles to Dagmar Vanek and the other from Dagmar Vanek.
Yes.
Thank you. And while you were not on this chain, I have a couple of questions about it. First of all, these emails, were you aware at this time that commission staff was working with multiple master meter operators, including yourself?
I don't have total recall of this, where my awareness might have been at that time. I don't know if I was.
That's fair.
At this time, I'm not aware of what my knowledge was at that time.
That makes sense. What I'm getting at is, you've said previously, and we could have the court reporter read back if I can remember exactly the question, but in response to an earlier question, you shared that you were not aware that you were a master meter operator.
That's a technical term that I don't remember when I became aware of exactly what a master meter operator was. I don't recall a conversation with Dagmar, him telling me that I was a master meter operator, or what that meant. I can't really speak to that. Yeah.
It was a long time ago, so that's completely fair, and I no need to push on that memory. But on Judge, if you could please go to Schedule 3. I'm sorry, page 3, Schedule 1, page 3 of the same exhibit. If we could go off the record for a moment, I'd like for Mr. Zambon.
Is that, yeah?
Yes, go for it.
I'm sorry, that's not for me to say. Mr. Zambon, if you could please review this email.
And we're at the beginning of Schedule 1, the email from Alex Rodriguez.
Exactly. This is an email. It's from Alex Rodriguez to Randy Weinberger. I think is his last name.
That larger. So let me know when I need to scroll down, and we're off the record.
And understanding, Mr. Zambon, that you were not on this email, do you mind reviewing this so I can ask a couple questions about it?
I think you go ahead and ask me a question.
Okay, do we need this? Are you done with what's on the screen? Should I scroll down?
Yes.
It's like the end. Oh, sorry. I think I went too far. There we go.
Okay, I think I have an understanding of it.
Okay, all right. So let's get on the record. Go ahead, Attorney Rogers.
Thank you, Judge. So as understanding that this is not an email addressed to you, it's addressed to Andy Weinberger. Do you see here that Mr. Rodriguez, at least in August 2020, provided a definition of a master meter system?
Yes.
And explained, okay, and you can see that that term it's a technical term that's being used to describe Holiday Acres.
Yes.
At that. Okay. And so after reading a couple of these emails, and I don't want to drag this out much further, but can you remember when you did understand that your status was a master meter operator?
Oh, I couldn't say that with any certainty. I certainly Randy Weinberger was he was hired by me as a general manager, and I actually asked him to take over, dealing with this project and so forth. He left my employment in December of 2021. And I guess it was back on my desk at that point. I'm not using this as an excuse or anything. It's just a part of an explanation of why some of the things have taken perhaps more time than it might have under other circumstances. I certainly knew by 2020 that we were master gas operators, yes.
Okay. Thank you, that's helpful. And in 2012, when we saw that email from Dagmar Vanek summarizing, giving a summary email indicating who she had been talking to, in 2012, I'm sorry, scratch that. You said that you had delegated to Mr. Weinberger this project of working with commission staff and WPSC to get the system into compliance, or at least to respond to these communications.
Mm-hmm.
And that must
is that yes? Wait, you need to answer.
Sorry, yes.
Okay, thanks.
And so Mr. Zambon, that delegation must have taken place before 2020, or before that email.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you after you said taken place before 2020, and then I lost.
Let me restart and rephrase. Mr. Zambon, can you provide a timeline of any kind as to when you learned about the problem, when you delegated it to Mr. Weinberger, and when you realized?
Mr. Weinberger came on board in the spring of 2020, or perhaps as late as June. I don't remember exactly what date he came on board. My wife and I had operated the business together for 47 years. And she passed away in April of 2020. I felt that I needed more help. I hired a general manager in early sometime in June. It was during COVID times. It was I don't really remember the timeline, and it was an unusual time in the process of our business. Let's put it that way. There were certain responsibilities that my wife and I had worked on together, and I tried to delegate some of those to Mr. Weinberger, and he did a fine job and so forth. And one of the jobs, or one of the things that I found daunting, was the project of changing over our classification from a master gas operator, which I was aware of that we were. I don't know exactly when I became aware of that classification or description. He worked off and on with Mr. Rodriguez. They had emails back and forth. I don't have those. There were between Randy and Alex. And yeah, and when he left my employment in December of 2021, this came back to me, and we proceeded from there.
Thanks. That's helpful, really helpful to the record and understanding the timeline here. And I just want to recap it and confirm that I've understood it correctly. At the time that you handed over the communications to Mr. Weinberger, you understood the project to be daunting and serious enough that it was going to take a substantial amount of work.
It struck me as complicated, and even the process of communicating with the PSC was not that simple in my opinion. That I'm not offering that as an excuse of any kind. I just Mr. Weinberger was better at the technicalities of doing this than I felt that I was, and that's one of the reasons I gave it over to his desk. But the responsibility still lies with me. I'm the business owner. I'm not making any excuses for that.
Understood. Okay, I think I'm hoping this is the last question that I have for you, and I appreciate your responses. What discussions did you have with Mr. Weinberger in the time that he was taking ownership of the project? Was he updating you, or were you asking him how it was going?
Well, we're depending on my memory of meetings that I had with him, and I can't really speak to that specifically. We would meet and talk about the business all the time. We shared an office space, but I really don't recall specific conversations, although I do know that it came up and that he was working with Mr. Rodriguez, and that I was under the impression things were moving along. I felt like it was a friendly, cooperative interaction between Mr. Rodriguez and us. And his email started with hi and signed off with Alex. And likewise, I felt that we were moving ahead in an agreeable fashion. It was not going quickly, but I felt that was due to the having to involve other parties such as public service, obviously, to do the work, mapping, surveys, forms, processes that really were beyond my expertise. We found ourselves in a position of being the master gas operator, not because we chose that as our career or classification. We just fell into that classification. And yeah, I think it was appropriate that it be changed. We are not capable of conducting the work that a master gas operator would need to do.
Okay, I have no further questions.
So any questions from Pub Service now?
Yes, Your Honor, just
Yeah, go ahead.
a couple of areas that Ms. Rogers covered with the witness here. And it's mostly just to clarify the record from the perspective of WPS. And I guess we could do it one of two ways. We could either bring Mr. Bosey back onto the witness stand, or we could ask Mr. Zambon a few questions in regard to that. And really just maybe to help answer these questions is to, there's sort of two areas that we'd like to explore. One is, kind of the next steps from the WPS perspective, and want to make sure that just that the record's clear for the commission and the commissioners as far as next steps. And then the other area was this testimony that Mr. Zambon gave with regard to Mr. Williams and his role at WPS. And I think there was some testimony given by Mr. Zambon and Mr. Williams not showing up at the site at some particular point.
Okay.
So I think we just want to clarify the record if that's.
Yeah, that's great. So we'll give witness Zambon, I can give you a little break here. I think maybe the best use of our time, and I'll have recall witness, is it Bose? And then we'll probably need you back, Mr.
Sure.
Zambon, for more questions, but yeah, in effort just to make sure we have all the facts and that it's clear. So let's have Pub Service witness back on. Okay, see you there. So remember, you're under oath.
Great. You ready, Judge Newmark?
Yeah. Just reminding the witness you're under oath. So you
Sure.
remember that, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Bosey, you were here to, when Mr. Zambon testified with regard to the next steps that Holiday Acres needs to perform in order for WPS to move forward.
I'm sorry, just off the record for a second. So you'll need to move the mic closer to you, Attorney Phillips. I think maybe you might have moved it a little too much. So let's try it now. Yeah, just kind of get it right in the middle. There's a sweet spot in there somewhere.
You're an expert at this.
No, hardly, but okay, let's get back on. You might need to, so Debbie, do you need her to repeat anything? 'Cause I was
No, I got it, even
You got
though
it,
it sounded
okay.
like it was in a bubble.
Okay, I'm the one that needs hearing adjustment. So, okay, so well, if you can continue on, or do you want to start from the beginning? It's up to you.
Sure. No, I think I can just keep going on with my question here to
Okay.
Mr. Bosey. So in regards to the next steps from WPS's perspective, can you just explain in the record what we need Holiday Acres to do in order for us, WPS, to go out and to do the installation work?
Sure. Because the majority of these cottages that are currently fed by fuel runs are going to have new services and meters placed at them. We need to have Mr. Zambon, Holiday Acres, call our call center and set up accounts for each of these new customers, similar to the ones that have the meters on them now. So new accounts need to be created. So that is something that Mr. Zambon will have to reach out to WPS and do.
Okay, so I just want to interrupt rudely for a second here. I did bring up your exhibit. I just have that on the screen because it does. So it's the Bosey 1 exhibit, has what looks like the plan of action here.
Yes.
And so I just wanted to wanted to introduce that on the screen anyway. And I will have a couple of questions for you about that, but go ahead, Attorney Phillips.
Yeah, I think.
Apologize. Are you hearing that very annoying noise? It's coming from my computer. I don't have a way of turning that off, so I'm sorry if that's disrupting us.
I don't hear anything.
Okay,
Nor do I.
it's just interrupting me. Okay, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Well, I guess I'll just piggyback onto your question, Judge Newmark. And with regard to these sketches, Mr. Bosey, that sketch depicts service to all of the cabins that WPS will install service to, correct?
Yes,
However, that's not necessarily the final design that WPS will perform. We still need to hear from Mr. Zambon as far as which cabins specifically he wants to set up accounts for. Is that correct?
yes.
That's all that I had.
Okay, all right. So let me piggyback on that. So this is a question that I probably need to ask both witnesses, witness Zambon and as well as you, witness Posey. But the way I understand this exhibit, this part of your exhibit 1, the sketch, page 6 and 7 here, it's color coded. So it looked like the green lines say they're existing lines. The blue are, it says install. So I'm just wondering, the install, is that a new installation? Is that the plan there?
Yes,
Okay, and the existing line, will those remain in place undisturbed, or would that be replaced by pub service?
no, the green services will not be replaced. There will need to be work done at the meter set to disconnect the existing fuel runs once the new services are installed to the other cottages.
Okay, so have those lines been tested for leaks?
Our services, yes.
So they have, but the current lines in the ground now haven't been tested. Is that?
Not the lines running from cottage to cottage. But the ones that are represented there, those green service lines running from the main to the cottage symbol, the squares, those do get surveyed and they are compliant.
So the green line that runs on the top of the diagram, is that a pub service line?
Yes, that is a gas main that also gets surveyed.
So where's the master meter?
The master meter is not really shown on this diagram. This is only the new installs and, you know, the proposed setup. So what you
On the
would,
next page, is that help?
no, the actual existing fuel runs are not represented in this drawing. But if you scroll back up to the top one, just as an example, the two on the left, what you would see to represent the current master meter setup is where the green service meets the cottage. You would see a dashed line running from that cottage over to the cottage to the left. And that would represent the natural gas fuel run, which is owned by Holiday Acres.
Okay, so between, I'll call cottage. So if we're numbering them from left to right, cottage 1 and cottage 2, cottage 1 is being served by cottage 2 at the moment. Is that?
Yeah.
I see. So that line, so there's an existing line between cottage 2 and cottage 1.
Yes,
And that'll just be disconnected.
yes,
Okay, so it doesn't, so you have an indication that red for remove, so that line won't be removed. It'll just remain in place.
it'll be retired in place.
Okay, so then the dashed green line on the top is a current pub service main.
Correct.
Okay, and then the green line, we see the solid green line that's existing. That's an existing run to what we're calling now cottage 2.
Yes,
And there's no meter involved in that situation currently.
there is actually so the meter would be hanging at the cottage at the end of the service. And from that.
Where the G is right now.
Yes,
There's a meter, and that's a pub service meter,
yes,
and pub service bills through that meter.
yes.
And then And then the service is then extended to the cottage one, and that's what the master metering situation is currently. Okay,
Correct.
okay.
If I may, Your Honor, interject.
Well, hang on, just one more question. So I just was wondering if you knew, witness Posey, the Blacktop, is that a public street?
I don't believe it is.
Okay. Okay. And I think I just have one more question for you. In your testimony, let's see if I got too many screens. Here we go. In your testimony, you described the work, the time of the work, at least at the time you informed Mr. Zambon, the length of construction was most likely a week's worth of on-site work. Is that, that's your testimony? So that was true when you filed it,
Yes,
and it remains correct?
yes,
So that's for all of the work that needs to be, all the physical work to update the system and make it pub services.
correct.
Okay. All right, I think that's all I was gonna ask. So we're just gonna stick with you. Any other questions for this witness? Commission staff or Holiday Acres have any questions?
Your Honor, this is Kim Zambon.
Yeah, I don't need, we'll get to your testimony and ask you more questions later, but and you'll have a chance to respond, but I just wanted to see if there are any redirect questions from pub service.
I did, Your Honor, I just had a couple more questions. In
Okay,
regards
sorry
to-
about that.
That's okay, no problem at all. The only other issue I wanted to raise with Mr. Posey is a statement that Mr. Zambon testified to with regard to Mr. Williams, who obviously is not here today. And Mr. Zambon said he had spoken with Mr. Williams, and that at some point in time, Mr. Williams didn't show up at the Holiday Acres site. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes.
Mr. Posey? In regards to Mr. Williams's role, are you aware as to whether or not it would be his role at the company to appear at the site of Holiday Acres to do the work related to installing the WPS facilities in order to eliminate the master meter system?
It would be highly unlikely. Site visit interaction would not come from Claude. It would come from myself or potentially our designer, who I know has also been on site previously.
Okay, so as far as you know, sitting here today, you're not aware of at any point in time of WPS indicating you or another employee not showing up at the Holiday Acres site as scheduled in accordance with the discussion between Mr. Zambon and WPS.
Correct.
Right. That's all I had, Your Honor.
Yeah, and I just want one other additional question. So just curious where the meters will be for each cottage when the work is completed. So is it correct if I understood that each cottage will have its own pub service meter?
Yes, the G,
Okay,
basically the meter.
that'll be the meter. Approximately the meter location will be where the G is.
Right.
Okay. And why is it required that that Holiday Acres open the accounts before the work is commenced?
I believe it has to do with the attributing premise numbers, probably for setting up some of the accounting details, because each of these will be a new account. Fortunately, I'm not as familiar with that new service aspect of it, but I believe those are potential reasons.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, great.
I'm
thanks.
sorry, did you say potential reasons? Your last two words, Mrs. Witness Posey?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, great. So any redirect from that?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, so anything else for this witness? So let's recall witness Zambon. So I did have a few questions for you, sir.
Mhm.
And I'll give you a chance to make your
Okay.
statement that you wanted to make as well. But let me just ask these few questions first. So I was just curious, is there any date in this coming October that you would not want Wisconsin Public Service Corporation to conduct the work?
We still have the cottages in operation during the first 2 weeks of October. And they indicated that to me in conversation that they felt that they would have time after mid-October to complete the work before weather would render it overly difficult to do.
Okay, is it very busy at Holiday Acres in October?
On weekends it is, yes. We have fishing groups that come.
Okay. Do you think you'll have full, it'll be all full on those weekends? All the cottages will be occupied?
Quite possibly in the first couple of weeks. We also have weddings and so forth that book. I don't have specific knowledge to the bookings at this point. Generally speaking, busy on weekends then.
Okay. So I know that snow was an issue with at least having pub service get on site and do some inspecting. But I would assume that we wouldn't have much snow through October, November. So
It seems unlikely.
all right. So is there any dates in November that you wouldn't want pub service to be conducting the work?
No, we have no problems there.
Are you shut down then after the first 2 weeks of October?
About half of the cottages, or actually over half, are drained and turned off at that time. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if we have this background, but are these short-term rentals? Are these like weekly rentals, or do you have long-term customers or
No,
go ahead.
sure. Generally speaking, it's during the season, it's a week long, and during the off season, it's odd numbers of days, usually weekends, sometimes extended weekends.
Okay, and so my other question, one I had for witness Posey is, do you see that exhibit we have on the screen, and it are you able to see that?
Yes.
And shows a road. It labels it as blacktop. Is that a public street, or is that a part of the resort?
It is a public street up to about the furthest to the left blue line, and beyond that point, it's vacated.
Okay, so we're calling that cottage 1. So it would be
Yes.
up to the blue line above that intersects cottage 1 is public, at least approximately, and then after that, it's owned by Holiday Acres.
Actually, to the right of that blue line is public, and to the left is private. So all of the cottages that you see in this particular screen that you're looking at,
Okay.
That would be a public road.
Okay. And how about on the next page?
That's all private. The furthest to the right blue line that you see, that corresponds just slightly more to the right would be the furthest left of the previous screen.
Okay. Thanks. I was wondering how those connected as well. Okay, great. Okay, so all right, so you did have a statement to make, I think, in response to what you heard witness Posey say, so I can let you do that now.
Okay. The only thing I wanted to mention in regard to the conversation or the discussion with Mr. Bosey was that I just wanted to clarify that the green line is the public service existing line. And then there's a line, as he mentioned, that goes to the adjacent cottage from the meter. I just wanted to clarify that those lines were all installed by Wisconsin Public Service. It's not something that we did independently. Those lines were all installed by Public Service at the time that the service was initially installed.
Okay.
So, and we didn't trench in a line or make an addition to any existing installation that Public Service did. So I just wanted to clarify that. And as far as Mr. Williams,
Well, let me just interrupt, and I just wanted to
sure.
follow up with that a little bit. So so we had mentioned on this page that's on the screen,
Right.
we're calling the connection between cabin 1 and 2.
Mhm.
That's the master meter service, and is currently not a Wisconsin Public Service Corporation line. But you're asserting that was installed by Pub Service.
It was installed by Public Service,
Okay.
and yes,
And you mentioned that that was at the 1993 work that you had mentioned before.
correct. That was all done at one time.
Okay, and before that, there just wasn't any service to cabin 1.
Before that, we were on a propane tank situation, and there were lines run to each cottage, but they did not reuse the existing lines. They installed new lines to each one.
So all cottages were on propane before 93.
Correct.
Okay, and so how did it come about that the cottages were connected directly and there wasn't a service main to cabin 1 directly from the Pub Service, the dotted green line?
I don't recall how that would have been determined. We just they made a recommendation. They said they came to us and said, we'd like to get you on natural gas. So this is what we'll do, and provided it was all at their direction or their plan.
Mhm.
We did not request that they put in a line to one cottage and then distribute there. I think all parties agreed that was a practical application or a practical way to do it, to the best of my recollection. Yeah.
So it's not really clear on the diagram though. So I'm going to ask you: do all cottages receive natural gas service currently?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So is it a similar arrangement then, where a green cottage, a cottage with a green G, has a line to a cottage with a blue G?
Yes.
Okay.
It varies. In some cases, one of them will have a line that runs to the right and to the left. In many cases, it's just one line, like in that what you referred to as 1 and 2. That was a line from 2 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
The next one would be a line from your arrow there to the one to the right.
Okay.
The next green line has a line that runs both directions, to the right and the left.
Okay.
And so on.
Mhm.
There's some variation in that.
Okay. And I don't know if you'd be able to answer this, but I just noticed I don't know, maybe a discrepancy, but maybe not, that in this area on the second page of the diagram, it has a blue dotted line, which indicates new install.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has a green line, so the main, I suppose, is a dotted blue, but then the service line is a green.
Yeah,
Existing
I don't know why that line turned to blue there. I also noted that there is a meter that they don't have indicated there. I just noticed. According to that picture, 1 meter serves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 units, and that's not the case. There's another meter there.
I'm not sure where, oh, so the blank, so where there's blanks in those cottages without it, I guess there's,
There's a blue line to each one, but
Yeah.
There's actually another green line there that's, I'm pretty sure anyway. It's not pertinent to
Okay.
to
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
Okay, but there is an existing main
Correct.
in the area that's indicated with a blue main.
Right. I don't know why that would be blue.
Okay, and then in terms of the, okay, so which cottages in the blue main area have an existing service line? Do you know?
Right. Actually, as the more I look at that, that would indicate that there would have to be a meter somewhere where the line turns from green to blue, and that's not the case. I'm talking about, the main line. The main line from your arrow there going to the left is still a green line. It should be, and
Okay.
otherwise there would be no meter between, for example, the first branch run that goes off to the left. There would be no meter. Yeah, that drawing isn't actually accurate.
And do you know where the master meter is?
Well, the one that's most of the way down, there is no meter between, except the one that's labeled green line with the G on it.
Okay, so
and-
that one.
Yeah, and
Right.
that's not accurate.
Mhm.
That blue line should be a green line, and yeah,
Okay,
that's not accurate. And perhaps that was, well, I can't explain why they.
right. So I don't know if Pub Service has, if they're in agreement that there's some inaccuracies in the diagram, if we could get an updated version, that would be helpful.
Your Honor, I don't believe there are any inaccuracies in the drawing. So maybe the best thing in the sketches, maybe the best thing to do would be to recall Mr. Bosey again and explain for the record that those sketches.
Okay, well, let's finish up with witness Zambon, and then we'll get back to witness Bosey. So I did cut you off about your second statement. So go ahead.
That's fine. I'll just referring, I'm sure Mr. Bosey would agree that that diagram is inaccurate, but the reference to Claude Williams, Mr. Rodriguez sent me an email on November 18th, and he says, "Hi Kim, I spoke with Claude from Public Service." Quoting here, it says, "It seems like they should be able to get someone out there to visit the property and answer questions you may have regarding the possible routes and what needs to get located on the property." And my response to him to Alex was, "Sounds good. They can just come to the lobby of the resort and find me." So it was Mr. Rodriguez that spoke with Claude Williams, and Claude Williams indicated to Mr. Rodriguez, according to this email, that he would get in touch with me. And that's where I made the comment that Mr. Williams never came to the property, to my knowledge. So that's what I was referring to, and I wanted to clear that up.
Okay, yeah, well, that's certainly documented, and so any questions for follow-ups from what we just discussed? So if we want to recall Bosey again and have him clarify the diagram for us, that would be great.
Michael. Go
Okay,
ahead.
if you scroll to the next sheet.
Okay.
There really isn't an error on this sheet. What currently exists down that blacktop driveway? I'm looking at it, and where the green main turns to blue, currently there is a service coming off that green line. So we have a multi-service running down to that dead end. We need to replace that with main.
Oh,
So we put the 2-inch blue main in.
okay.
That service that runs down that, I guess, dead end or cul-de-sac does serve the cottage that shows the green line. A portion of that is retrievable, or I guess retrievable is not the right word. It is reusable. There is a dual service off of that service to the cottage to the north. That would be eliminated. So the portion that you see as green does exist,
Okay.
and it would be tied over to the new main.
Okay. And do you know which cottages have service currently? Is it just the two that you mentioned, or is it kind of spread out?
There are 3.
3, okay.
So the one that has the green,
Mm-hmm.
the one directly north of it, which is a dual service,
Mm-hmm.
and then the one across the road and a little bit north.
Okay. And by dual service, do you mean?
There's an extension coming off the existing green up to that smaller square, smaller cottage.
Okay, so it's, so you don't mean 2 service lines to 1 cottage? Is that, what did you mean by dual?
Well, so what it is, you've got the service line, the green service line coming up and feeding the cottage that you see. There's a tiny little segment of pipe coming from that service, going underground to the north to the other cottage, and there's a meter on that cottage as well.
Okay, so is that a pub service meter then?
It is a pub service meter. So, I mean, they are viewed as 2 separate services. They
Okay.
share a common portion of service back to the main.
Okay.
And it's something that we try to not do.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently it was done back in 93 or whenever that went in.
Okay. And then this third cottage that's northeast of, I guess the second cottage, that line comes from the second cottage's meter. and
Yes.
Branches off. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then none of the other cottages in the existing blue, what's labeled under the blue main, none of those other cottages have service currently.
No, there is the second one from the top along the left side is also part of that service coming off the green main way down south.
So we have the 3 cottages,
Yes.
and are there any others that have gas?
No.
No, okay. Okay.
They all have gas.
They all have gas.
Yeah, and
Meters.
Okay,
Meters, okay.
And I meant, do they use, yes, do they have gas? So there are
Okay.
master meter pipes to those cottages.
Okay.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, all right, any other questions?
Your Honor, I apologize. Just one more question for Mr. Bosey, and this is in regard to the comment about the email from Mr. Rodriguez to Mr. Zambone on November 18th. Mr. Bosey, did you reach out to Holiday Acres in the fall of 2022 in order to start facilitating the removal of the master meter installation of the WPS facilities?
Yes, I did. Although I did not record the dates, I did reach out and left I believe his name was Randy Weinberger, 2 messages attempting to set up a meeting to discuss this and I guess rectify the master meter setup.
All right, thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else for the witness? Okay. All right, so I'm going to turn off the screen share. I think that's all we need for the collecting of evidence here. I don't know if I have my scheduling order here anymore. Here we go. Just want to double check. So we do have the transcript process, any corrections. There's dates for filing, for proposing corrections and filing objections. So for people not familiar, the court reporter will email everyone a draft transcript. And then there's 3 working days for parties and staff to review the draft and file on IRF any proposed corrections. Then there's another 2 working days for objections to those proposed corrections. Then, and they should be filed in IRF as well. Then I will review that, make a decision, and send the corrections to the court reporter, who will incorporate those in a final version. And then that final version will also be emailed to parties and staff. So in the meantime, I think we'll have, well, we get pretty close to the initial brief deadline by that time. And what I usually tell people is if we don't have a final transcript in hand by the time of the initial brief, do your best to use the draft. And if there are no objections to the proposed corrections, you can assume that they will be accepted. If there's any discrepancy there, we can fix it later. So if you don't have the final transcript, you can use the draft transcript to create your initial brief. And then we have also a deadline for reply briefs that's in the schedule. So that's really the remaining process that we'll need for the case. Once we have the transcript and all the evidence and briefs completed, the commission will review the record and make a decision in open meeting. And then an order will be issued in writing. It'll be posted to the commission's website and served to the service list. So that's really the remaining part of the process. Anything we need to handle before we adjourn?
There, Judge, there was a suggestion that there might be additional evidence that could be useful to the record. I'm not sure that remains outstanding, but if either party has additional evidence, that would be material. The thought would be to issue a staff data request and review that way. I'm not sure that at this point it's necessary, but we wanted to sort that out. And Attorney Heineman, not being here today, asked if I could relay that inquiry.
Okay, well, I mean, I can hear from the parties and staff present today. Is there any additional documentation that needs to be included for the complete record?
Nothing from WPS's perspective, Your Honor.
From my perspective, I wanted to, at the attorney's recommendation, submit my emails to Alex and different parties. As you mentioned, I did not present my side of the story, and I was under the impression that I would come out verbally in examination and so forth, but we'd like to have them submitted. So I think we were given a couple, 2 days to do that, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you were misinformed. that's been decided. So Attorney Rogers, did you have any comment on that, or any additional documents?
I'm not aware of anything that would be required. If there's something that Mr. Zambon thinks is relevant, the position of commission staff is that a more complete record is preferable. And so I think that 2 days to file a data request response with any relevant emails is reasonable. I understand that the process there would be for commission staff and the administrative law judge to consider materiality and not to admit evidence that's not relevant or adds more to the story. I mean, Mr. Zambon, I do think that you were able to convey a good deal of timeline and your position today, but anything that you believe is relevant, especially given the lack of representation today, I think could benefit the record. So anything that counter
Well, here's what we'll do. I think Attorney Heineman will be able to review the transcript and the YouTube recording. We are doing this in his absence, like I mentioned. I think parties do have a right to file a motion for leave to submit additional evidence. And if Holiday Acres is identifying certain documents it believes it possesses but has not been presented at this time, I can review that submission on a motion, and that gives everyone an opportunity to review and weigh in on the validity of the motion and the acceptability of the documents. So I'll just leave it to motion practice. Holiday Acres is represented now, so we might as well use that resource and this from post hearing at least. So let's do it. So there is a process for filing that motion that Attorney Heineman should be familiar with, and we'll take it from there. So and that'll just apply for anyone, so any party so can avail themselves of that process. But so at this point, so with that understanding, let's just poll everyone. Anything else we need to review before we're adjourning here? Okay, that's it then. Thank